Hi ladies and gentlemen, Warren from Berg here again. I'm going to do another astrological video. This time the topic that I'll be covering is relocation astrology. And I also wanted to point something out. I will be basically rehashing some one or more topics from older videos because it has dawned on me that when I covered a good deal of ground in terms of videos and topics discussed in those videos when I first started my YouTube channel. But I just checked, and my videos aren't nearly getting as those old videos that I shot back when I still lived back before I moved. They haven't nearly gotten any attention. I've gotten like what 30 views or 40 views on those videos. So it seems appropriate, more than appropriate, to rehash and to make new videos. So what I'll be doing is that I'll be deleting these old videos. Some of them, we're talking about videos in the very beginning, don't worry about it. Only videos that didn't do well or didn't get any attention at all. And I'll simply be revamping these videos and thereby explaining these topics in which I've explained, that I discussed or that I brought forth in those videos a bit more extensively or significantly extensive and just more elaborate. In any case, this video is going to be short nevertheless. There's not a lot to say. Regarding astrology, relocation is another form of astrology or branch of astrology that I specialize in. The benefit that relocation astrology gives you is just like the name states. It is beneficial. It displays what kind of changes await you in the location that you intend on moving to. A simple example that I'm going to give you is the way that I live here, for example. I live in this worthless hole called Suriname, and I wanted to move to the US, for example. I wanted to move to Washington, D.C., in Washington itself. And if I moved to there, then my life would change drastically, and relocation astrology would display that properly. How it basically works is that you simply take your natal chart and you change the location. So for example, again in my example, I was born here in Paramaribo, Suriname. So I changed the location from Paramaribo, Suriname to Washington, D.C. in the U.S. Washington State in the U.S. And nothing else changes. You don't change anything else. Just the location, nothing else. Your birth, your date of birth, your time of birth, if you have that, stays the same. And what you simply need to do is compare these two charts and these two charts and take note of how the constellation has adjusted itself or how it has moved. That's why I know in advance, for example, if I want to move to somewhere like I intend on doing, if I move away, the benefit that I have as an astrologer and occultist is the valuable or invaluable benefit compared to other people in general is that I know what's coming. Okay, if I want to move to Australia, I know what's going to happen if I move to Melbourne, Australia, for example. I know in which areas of my life things will change, whether it be career-wise, financially speaking, romantically speaking, you name it. And that is the benefit of relocation astrology, and that's all. It's really simple and straightforward. Again, all you have to change is the location. So if you lived in Chicago, Illinois, and you want to move to Toronto, Ontario, in Canada, then no problem. Only thing that all you need to do is change the location and compare your two charts, and you'll see if the moon has moved, for example, or if any other planet has moved regarding house, an astrological house, or a zodiac sign. You can simply make a comparison and then you'll see. For example, if the moon was in the 5th house when you were born, and when moving, it turns out that the moon has moved into the 7th house. Then you can it's simply a matter of connecting the dots. You can put it together, and then you have an idea on what changes will await you in your new location. That is how relocation astrology works. Another thing that I need to mention is that it's all about distance, okay? The further the distance and the more different the way of life in the new location that you intend on moving to, the more varied things will become. So don't bother if you just intend on moving from one house to another in the same region, or if you live in the same state, for example, let's just say you move from Washington D.C. to Seattle. Yeah, both are in Washington, and again, there is little to no difference. I mean, you can still do it, okay? You can still cast that chart to double check, but you'll notice that there are very little to no differences because, again, the location is the same geographically speaking, very much the same. It barely anything changes in terms of way of living and geographically. But moving, for example, from the US to Europe, moving to Amsterdam or to Brussels or moving to Berlin is something different entirely. So yeah, you'll definitely notice changes. Not that it has to be the case. Some people are just versatile like that, or they're just mundane to the point where there is no difference, or there will be no difference regardless of where they live. But again, this is a very rare occurrence. Okay, generally speaking, there are changes. So that is it. In any case, I'm just going to give you guys an example. I made up a draft a good while ago where I took a bunch of things into consideration, a bunch of locations. For example, regarding Canada, Canada was the country that interested me the most because that's the country that bears the most potential for me. I took either Toronto into account and Vancouver. Vancouver is obviously in British Columbia and Toronto is in Ontario, both in Canada, and I had an overview of everything, okay? My career as an occultist will skyrocket if I move to either of these locations, and I can't remember anything else, okay? Because it was a good while ago that I cast these charts. I also took the US into account. Washington D.C. I think was one of the locations, that's why I remember it, and used it as an example. I also took Miami into account. Let's see, what other, let's see. I can't remember if I took San Francisco into account. I don't think so. Any Californian city or Los Angeles, I can't remember. In any case, that's an example. I also took Amsterdam into consideration, you name it, okay? And for most of these locations, it simply indicates that my career will skyrocket and that I'll really take off and that I'll make a lot of money in doing so, a lot more money than what I'm currently making. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing else that I can remember or put my finger on. Okay, life in any case will be better, but you can really calculate everything into details, okay, to see exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to happen and all of that. That's just an example that I can give you guys. So now you know in any case what relocation astrology is and how it works. Bye.